Welcome Cartel members, Anons, Facebook friends, Instagram followers, random YouTube viewer. Thanks for joining me. My name is Julio Hawkes and I am the Theorizing Theorist. Today we're going to be going over this whole tunnel system under the Capitol. I find it very interesting, so I really want to keep talking about it. Let's just go ahead and read. Arrested as military rescues tortured children from tunnels beneath Capitol Hill, U.S. Special Ops Forces recovered bodies, body parts, and at least 100 surviving children from a tunnel system beneath the White House and Capitol building in Washington, D.C. on Friday, 29th of January. In the early morning hours, as body bags were being delivered, multiple troops were seen coming out of the White House with at least 100 children in tow. The children were believed to have been abused, tortured, and killed by political elites in an elaborate tunnel system that ran beneath Capitol Hill and connected to other systems for 200 miles. All was thought part of an international child trafficking ring run by global political elites with ties to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island that lay next door to Biden's Water Island. Now that's true, Biden does own an island right next to Epstein's old paradise, whatever they call it, pedo island. There's a Rumble video I'm going to show you at the end of this, but before that I have a little bit of a long read for you. I know some of you guys don't believe it. With the picture you thought it was fake, but if you look at the size of the door and the people coming out of it, that door would have to be about 10 feet tall. More, 15 maybe, if those are adults walking through there. And they're obviously children with backpacks. Now, I understand there's tours, but when that photo and video was when I saw the original, I think they're being escorted by military or Secret Service or something like that. But even then, it happened during a time when there was no tours. I don't think there's been tours for a good year now. But anyway, I could be wrong. Comment down below if you know. But here's what somebody said that lived near there. I grew up in the USVI. The USVI includes St. John, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and Water Island. It also includes a multitude of small islands, Little St. James, Epstein Island being one of them. The USVI and BVI, British Islands, are very close to one another. The smaller islands are used for narcotic trafficking for the U.S. and foreign governments. The smaller islands are used as pickup and drop points. I found things in those islands which you'd call me a liar if I told you about, and I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it. Many private subs operate in the islands. Ghislaine owned a sub company which frequently operated in VI, the Virgin Islands. Epstein's island had a hidden sub bay. The mega yachts all have sub access beneath the water line. Many of those yachts are equipped with small subs. Those waters around the islands get very deep. We used to fish out on the shelves. You'd be cruising along in 50, 100 feet of water, and then seconds later you're in water that is thousands of feet deep. The cliffs are vertical and there are many deep channels. Lots of places to hide things. After an hour or so of fishing, tuna, mahi, swordfish, and chumming the water, the deep ocean sharks show up, 15 to 25 foot behemoths by the dozen. They smack the boat as they swim underneath it. If you fall overboard covered in fish blood when a frenzy is on, you might have 5 seconds to get back in the boat. There's a massive cruise ship dock on St. Thomas, massive as in 3 or 4 full-size ships can tie up the dock with room for more out in the harbor. They dredge the bay of Charlotte and Malie very deeply to make it possible for those massive ships to make berth at the docks. I remember them digging up all kind of cannon and old relics in the process of dredging. Those docks have access points below the waterline. Some of those cruise ships have access points below the waterline. Jeffrey Epstein and associates own significant property along the cruise ship wharf. Those properties are connected by underground tunnels. Draw your own conclusions. So this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, like he really is from there. So Epstein's flight log is cover pure blackmail and fanfare. Those of significance came in by yacht. We do not know many of their names. Those names may never be made public. Only time will tell. The flight logs are to throw inquiring minds off the scent, make people think it was just a few government figures and some shitty celebrities, smoke and mirrors. There is an old sub base on St. Thomas, and there are missile silos hidden in the mountains. The islands are volcanic and rumored to contain massive tunnels and cave systems left over from lava flows. I did a lot of exploring as a child and found caves which gave me bad vibes, and learned to stay away from those places. In hindsight, it was like anti-personnel tech designed to keep people away from certain areas, possibly military. The islands were bought by the US government from Denmark decades ago. It was supposedly strategic and to have a sub-base, missile silos, and a base of operations to keep an eye on Cuba and have control over the region. I think it's more likely that the islands were seen as a good place to traffic humans, narcotics, and money away from the mainland and away from prying eyes. The islands have a dark history. The natives were slaughtered wholesale by European explorers. Many slaves were brought from Africa to work cane fields in horrible conditions. There were several infamous slave rebellions that resulted in massacres and mass suicides. I've stood on the ground where they occurred. I spent my childhood wandering through the ruins of the plantations. The energy is wrong in those places. It is palpable. The islands are dark to this day. The years I lived there, it was at the very top per capita in terms of homicide, rape, domestic abuse, drug use, etc. I'm talking higher rates per capita than some of the worst cities in America. I knew multiple people who were murdered or went missing under inexplicable circumstances. The cases were never resolved. Gang violence is rampant. I used to run with a violent gang of Frenchies because I am light-skinned. It was kind of like prison. If you don't get in with the crew, you were a mark, and you would get beaten, robbed, and potentially killed. You might not like skinheads or want anything to do with them, but if you're in the pen as a white boy and don't crew up with the Aryan Nation, you are an easy mark for the Latino gangs or Crips or Bloods or whomever. In the islands, there were grade school age stick-up kids. They were the ones to fear most because they would attack and potentially kill you for no reason, and they hunted in packs. There were beaches and housing complexes where, as a white person, you did not go ever. The various ethnicities mostly segregated into groups and crewed up. As a light-skinned little kid, I was a minority and a mark. I loved everyone and wanted to be everyone's pal, which led to me getting my ass kicked a lot and also got me out of some bad situations. Drinking age was 18 at the time, but if you could reach over the bar top and order a drink, no one looked twice at you. I was in those bars at 13 hanging out with some really fucked up people and loving it. I felt at home. Lots of tourists from America and Europe visited those islands, and the economy was completely dependent on tourism. You can imagine all the seedy shit that went on with the young teenage girls on vacation cutting loose. They were often targeted by predators. Human trafficking is well known. Many incidences of trafficked humans being found alive and deceased, and traffickers being arrested and then quietly released again. The cigarette boats, extremely powerful speedboats, would rip back and forth across the emerald and sapphire waters loaded with money, narcotics, or human cargo. The more sophisticated and connected individuals use submarines out of sight beneath the waves. I lived on St. John and took a ferry to St. Thomas to go to school in the late 90s and early 2000s. That ferry went within a few hundred feet of Epstein Island. We used to look at the mansion there and speculate about what went on. I used to swim in the waters off that island. People would use high-powered optical devices to spy on the shit that went on there. Sometimes locals were brought in for various reasons, but almost all of the activity and work was done by people that were not known to anyone on the islands. Keep it a secret, keep it safe kind of shit. It was well known that young girls were brought onto the island. Epstein ran a honeypot. Mossad, CIA, M16, etc. All the alphabet agencies are really one and the same and work together to fulfill the orders of their masters. Recorded and documented everything that went on, and in the tunnels beneath Epstein's island. As far as Water Island is concerned, this is where it gets kind of interesting, many well-connected and wealthy individuals own property there. It is rumored that this was done as pay-for-play scheme, buying influence and connections with the pedos. The government of the USVI is insanely corrupt. Corrupt beyond comprehension. The federal government sent them hundreds of millions each year, knowing full well the money was being used for all sorts of nasty shit. When I was a naive young man, I thought that was so wrong and could never understand it. In hindsight, it all makes sense and it all connects. I will add that the islands were also used to experiment on the populace. EMF technology was used, might still be, heavily on the locals. Mind control and psychological abuse was tested. Experimental vaccines were tested. A lot of MK Ultra type experiments were carried out. Controlling chemistry and food was also experimented with. I was a victim of these things. I know others who were as well. Most people have absolutely no idea what the people running this globe are into, alleged globe. They don't even have the framework to comprehend that has been done to humanity for a very long time. These creatures will never stop. They can't stop. They have to do these things. They have made deals with even more malignant beings who will inflict unimaginable suffering upon their pawns if they do not deliver results. We hear names like Rockefellers and Rothschilds, but in actuality they are just pawns. They are the somewhat hidden yet visible hand which is seen moving pieces on the board. The true manipulators are unknown to us. They may be immortal. They have access to rituals, knowledge, and technology so advanced it would appear as magic to you and I. This would be such a badass science fiction series if it weren't true. What I tell you is a documentary. I'm not making anything up. In fact, I am keeping some of the more extreme aspects out of this so as to not have this come across as even more over the top than it already is. I know a lot of people who still live there, though many of the locals I knew left. A lot of them ended up in Atlanta for some reason. Similar climate and similar vibe, I suppose. I don't talk with any of them about this. I knew people who were bodied for asking the wrong questions. It's possible to have a good life, but I would never raise children there, and I'm hesitant to go visit. This message went long, but it needed to be said. I have shared these stories before, but never on GLP. I've posted some of this on social media, and those accounts were deleted and the posts taken down. But not before others resonated with my words and made me realize I am not alone in knowing these things. I don't feel any need to defend myself. If you don't believe me, that's quite alright. It is probably easier for you if you write this off as the rantings of a mad anonymous coward. But this is my story and I lived it. I deal with the consequences of this knowledge every day, and it is a heavy burden to carry, but some of us must carry the light, else we will all be lost in endless darkness, as in the goal of those who seek to prey upon us. Those of you who are meant to comprehend and accept these words will, and that is also quite right. All right. The choice to know is yours, and with that choice comes great responsibility and the heavy burden which I mentioned. I'm gonna go watch some lighthearted bullshit on YouTube. Writing this took a toll. Thanks for letting this anonymous coward shed a little light on a very small piece of this pandemic. Remember that the true pandemic is human trafficking and the enslavement of humanity. Protect yourself and keep your loved ones close. And then she finishes by saying, it is a good thing I copy-pasted that long-ass post before trying to post it. Was receiving multiple errors and forbidden messages and had to try multiple times to get it to post. Not saying there's a conspiracy there, but it would have been brutal to lose that post. LOL, peace. So I'm going to end it there. We're going to watch the video that this long-ass letter this lady wrote about the background of St. James and Biden's island over there. We're going to check this Rumble out. But before that, please check the description and help a brother out. Maybe donate a penny or two. It really goes a long way towards the channels. I'm trying to get a laptop. I got about like $70 some odd saved up from some donations that I've been kind of trickling in. So if you could check the description below, I'd much appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good stuff. And without further ado, let's start this movie. But before we start it, you guys know the routine. As always, to God be the glory.
Congress, Biden arrested as military rescues tortured children from tunnels beneath Capitol Hill. U.S. Special Op Forces recovered bodies, body parts and at least 100 surviving children from a tunnel system beneath the White House and Capitol building in Washington, D.C. on Friday the 29th of January in the early morning hours as body bags were being delivered. Multiple troops were seen coming out of the White House with at least 100 children in tow. The children were believed to have been sexually abused, tortured and killed by political elites in an elaborate tunnel system that ran beneath Capitol Hill and connected to other systems for 200 miles. All was thought part of an international child trafficking ring run by global and political elites with ties to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island, that lay next door to Joe Biden's Water Island. A couple of days later, in the early morning hours of Monday the 1st of February, and with the US functioning under martial law, Joe Biden and 464 elected government officials were said arrested and released inside the Capitol Hill area. Capitol Hill had been surrounded in 8-foot-high barbed wire fencing since Inauguration Day 20 Jan. Washington, D.C. remained guarded by over 30,000 National Guard troops. Lines of buses with darkened windows took the children away. On Friday morning the 5th of February, Dr. Charlie Ward confirmed from his people on the ground at Capitol Hill that the military did, in fact, rescue children found in rooms and tunnels constructed underneath the White House. Black vans and buses with darkened windows picked up the children for medical treatment and debriefing. Evidently they discovered multiple corpses and a lot of body bags were going into the area. Since October 2019, tortured, malnourished children and corpses in the tens of thousands have been found in a sophisticated network of deep underground military bases, DUMBs, that ran beneath the US, Canada, Mexico, Australia, Asia and across Europe. For over a year, US Special Forces had been in training for the rescue missions, which began on October 16, 2019 with the rescue of caged babies and children beneath the China Lake Navy facility in California. A military operation of 10,000 Marines and Navy SEALs rescued an unbelievable 2,100 children being held in cages in underground tunnels at China Lake. The children and teens were said to have been sexually abused, tortured and killed to collect their adrenochrome. Marines, Navy SEALs rescue 2,100 caged children, teens. Other military operations have recently taken place to rescue children. October 31, 2019, thousands of children rescued from torture by global elite pedophiles. April 9, 2020, over 35,000 malnourished, caged children rescued out of US tunnels by military. April 21, 2020, April 21, 2020, over 50,000 traumatized children rescued by military out of tunnels beneath US cities.